much. Are you getting tired of it, Rich? You're okay? All right, so stats, yes. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to learn how to analyze and interpret. Okay. Analyze and interpret data. That's what we're going to do. So for example, when every time I mark tests, yours aren't done yet, right? I'm still in the process. You've got 0%, right, to 100%. And when you collect, if I were to collect data, average is okay to figure out what the average is, but really I want to look at how widespread is it? Do I have students here and a bunch of students, and those X's just represent like students, right? And maybe I have 1 or 2 or 3 that are in the hundreds or close to 100. How spread out is it, right? If I were to collect it and actually plot it, because let's face it, once you're a bigger company, you're dealing with thousands of customers. If you're the government, you're dealing with millions, right? And so forth. So collecting data and actually being able to analyze it is very, very important to us. So what we will use in this course are what we call the MCTs. Write this down. And what that stands for is measures of central tendency. Measures of central tendency. So central tells you, right? It's the attempt to find the center of the data points. Like, how can we find like the middle? Because if we can kind of get the middle, then we can kind of plan accordingly, right? So there are 3 things that will allow you to figure out the measure of central tendency. There's the arithmetic mean. Have you ever heard of the mean? You only heard of someone being mean, right? But mean actually indicates average, okay? You should know that. I hope you graduate and you know if somebody says the mean income, that's average, okay? So that's going to be the first thing we're going to look at. That's the one you've done since elementary. Your teachers probably have done some average already. Then the next one is the median, which you should also recognize. Anybody recognize that word? Yes. Middle of arranged values, though. It has to be arranged. If it's not arranged, it doesn't work. That's our second. And our third is the mode. You remember that one? Most popular. Most popular. That's what the mode is. Okay. And I think, right, I will give you some ways to figure them out. But these are the 3 MCTs, measures that try to find the center. Okay. Is it just me or is it a bit blurry? Are we good? You're fine? I think it's because it's wavy here when I'm from the side, so I kind of look at my screen here. Okay, another thing you're going to look at is outliers. Outlier or outliers. Have you heard of that word? The ones that lies outside, right? Outliers are anomalies, are things that are not common, right? So every set of data will have some outliers. A value or values, right? That is very different uh, will be far outside most, right? It'll be very different than most of the data points that you've collected, right? So let's say as a teacher, you've got, a bunch of marks, all of a sudden you have a zero or a couple zeros in there. Chances are that that student hasn't written the test yet, right? So those would be considered outliers. Something went wrong there, okay? Um, I want you to write this down too. We're now going to look at later on, not right away. We're going to look at something that we call the trimmed mean. And the word suggests trimming, right? So for example, if you have 2, 3, 5, 7, and 58, let's say, those are the values that you're collecting, you can tell that this is an outlier, right? If you look at most of the numbers, you jump to 58. So this would be considered an outlier. If you want to remove it, you also have to remove the lowest value, but this is the outlier, okay? So a trimmed mean removes outlier or outliers, okay? So that's one important one to box in. So I really want you to look at this book when you're preparing for the exam and just quickly look over and say, oh yeah, I remember that, right? Then we're going to look at weighted mean, weighted average, and we're going to split this up into percentages and repetition. Right now, this may not mean a whole lot to you. Don't worry about it. Just write it down. Percentile rank. Percentile. That's the last thing that you're going to write down for the, rank. What does that do? Tells us how data compares, ranks to the rest. This is used quite often when it's when they're comparing, countries in terms of education and terms of income. They'll kind of have a comparison. Like the higher you are in the ranking, the better off you are. So if you're in the if you're in the 80th percentile, you're doing very good, right? If you're in the 50th or lower, you're actually not doing so well compared to everything else. Okay. The first lesson is usually very important because I kind of set the stage for everything else. So when you look at your exam or you're preparing, this first page will usually paint you a very good picture as to what needs to be covered, right? So working with the arithmetic mean, this is the average, guys. This is the one you've been calculating over and over in the younger years. So finding the arithmetic mean, the median, and the mode. So I'll show you how to do that. And you might think, Mr. Jason, I know this already. I don't want to do this again. Please still follow because there are certain things that I might mention that you didn't know. Okay. A measure of central tendency, this is where my highlighter comes in. A measure of central tendency is the number around, right, the data clusters. So a measure of central tendency is a number where the data tends to cluster, like where most of them are found, okay? In mathematics, there are several different measures of central tendency. The most common, right? The most common is the arithmetic mean, of course, and it's also called the average. This is what you need to know, that the arithmetic mean, which is the average, is denoted by that symbol x with a little bar on top. Okay. It is found by adding all the values and dividing by the number of values in the set. Okay. I will give you the formula right now. Arithmetic mean, right? This is the formula. We usually go like this with an x, a little bar on top. Okay. Sum of all values. So you'll add them all up, and then you'll just simply divide that by the number of values. Okay. Include units. That's very important, because at first there won't be any units, but later there will be. It'll be dollars per item and so forth. And here is an example. If you have a ruler, it's great, but you don't really need a ruler, something to draw a straight line. I want to make a little graph here on the side. Just a straight line like that, and like that. We'll call this months, or the month, and we will have a dollar sign here up on the y-axis. Do you remember your x and y-axis? You did in grade 11, you did a lot of graphing. Do you remember that? It was that good year. Lots of graphing in there. Right, x is the bottom, y is always along the vertical, the y here. But here, let's look at a couple of months here. So let's say January. We'll go January, February, March, April, May, and June. Let's go all the way to June here. And along the side here, make them equally spaced out, right? Try your best at least. So let's say we have $1,000 here, 2,000, 3,000. So let's say we're looking at someone's income. So we're going to use bars. So let's say that for January, right, we were at 1,500. And then February, you were at 2,300. March, you were at 2,200. And then April, $800. So the pandemic hit. You were asked to stay home. March, April of 2020, right? Your income goes, right? And then the government kicks in and gives you CERB, right? And what was that? I don't know. Let's say it's about $2,000 a month. And then June, things were kind of opening up a bit, but let's say you made 2,100 there. So I kind of look at a little bit on the side here, right? The numbers on the side to guide me. Find the average. If I ask you to find the arithmetic mean, don't let that throw you off if I say that. Okay, the arithmetic mean. I just want to use that word so you get used to it. Calculating the average would be, you just go 1500. Make sure you show this, okay? I'm just adding up all the months here, 2200, 800, and I'm going to run into a problem here. I'm going to run out of room, so I'll start over because I want it in one line. My bad. That's what I get when I deviate from the plan, okay? I didn't have this graph at first, but I thought, hey, 2300, 2200, 800, 2000, 2100. So you add up all the numbers. That's always going to be your first step. Add it all up. Right? And how many numbers are you adding up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? We knew it by the bars. We added. So this is divided by 6, right? There's 6 months that you're dividing. What's the top? The top is all in dollars. The 6 represents how many months? So I'll actually write that down here. And the top is all dollars, right? Dollars, dollars, dollars. So let's add it up and divide it by 6. So 1500 plus 2300 plus. Okay. I'll still finish it just in case. 4100, 10,900. There you go. Confirmation. So I like units. The textbook doesn't do it very often. But really, what you were adding up is the dollar amounts, and what you're dividing by is the number of months. So we go 10,900. 10,900 divided by 6. That is 1,800. Oh, I'm so upset that I bought this. I'm not going with Amazon next time. 1816.67. What is it that we found, guys? Do you remember the slope in grade 11? Did you talk about slope? Your teachers? Rise over run? But you found a unit, right? Like what is it for 1, right? So it's basically per month that you're finding. When you're dividing, you're finding the dollars per month, like that. So what is that? On average, that's how much you were making, because a lot of credit card companies, when you tell them, hey, what's your income, and you're self-employed, you don't make the same every month, right? You're all over the place. If you're in the construction, you make tons of money in the summer, and then you make a lot less in the winter, so forth. So let's put this on our graph. 1816 is about where? This would be 1500, right? 1800 would be right about there. So what you found is that is what you're finding. That's like the average. It's kind of saying, hey, if you were to spread out all these incomes equally amongst all 6 months, it would be as though you made 1816.67 per month. Does that make sense? I hope so. I have one like this for Manitoba Hydro. Like hydro obviously is all over the place, right? Winter you use a lot more gas than you use in the summer. So they will give you cool graphs like this, where it's like your consumption over the winter is like crazy and it goes down. But then they spread it out over the whole year and you see that line. It's like this is how much your average consumption would be over the whole year. So, averages are really good when you're budgeting. Like, let's say I'm making a budget. You did that in grade 11 too, didn't you? Budgets, remember? What I do is this. How much should I spend on gas? How much should I be putting away every month for gas? Well, I go back 3 or 4 months and I add up. It's like, okay, 4 months, right? Add it all up, divide it by 4. So that means I should be putting away $250 a month for gas, right? So that's where average is good for. It's like if you want to spread it out evenly and have enough money put aside, then that's what you do. Okay, keep going. Average, average. Now we're going to do median and mode. I'm going to go a little bit faster here. Okay. Page 111. Okay. This is from a really big book. We just slice it into little units. Okay. Median and mode are two other measures of central tendency. The median is a set of numbers. Of a set of numbers is the middle value of a data set. It is most easily found when you organize it in ascending or descending order. I will always go in ascending order. Ascending means you're going up, right? If there's an even number of values, the median is the average of the two middle numbers. Okay? If there's an even number of values, the median is the average of the two middle values. Yikes, right? I don't know if you remember that. But here it is. Ready? First step is always arrange. Arrange from smallest to largest. Let's just all agree that that's how we're going to do it, even though it doesn't matter if you go the other way. If you have odd number of data, okay, just pick the middle. Middle value. Sorry. Just pick the middle value. Make sure you must have an equal amount of values on either side. That's how you know you're in the middle. It actually, that's, you know what? For me, that's the best way to look at the median is it tells you how many are, half of them are below, half of values will be above it. That's what you do when you find a median. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This is your median. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's your median. Right? So if it's an odd number of values, it's easy to find. Just arrange it and grab the median. Okay. Okay, if even number of data calculate the average of two middle values. And I will give you a little bit of a cheat later on. If the data set is really big, it's hard sometimes to figure out the middle, but at first they're going to stay reasonably low. But let's say you have 6, right? 1, 2, let's just go 4. Let's just go 4. That's the easiest one. If you have 4 and you notice that there's a 6 and a 10, right? This was how you would get, this is where you get your median from. Median is equal to 6 plus 10 Make sure that's in brackets, and then you're going to divide it by how many values are you adding? 2. So it's really 16 divided by 2, which is 8 units. So the median in this case isn't even a data point, but it slices it in half, right? I will do another one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say you have 6 and you end up with 5 and 10 in the middle. Like when you arrange it, there's 5 and 10. You're like, obviously, it's somewhere in between these two is going to be the middle. So you would go 5 plus 10 divided by 2, which is 15 divided by 2, and that is 7.5 units. So the median tells you that half of the data will be below and half will be above. You probably haven't paid attention, but the government, when they talk about income, that's always a thing, like addressing low income, right? Low income, because if we bring the income up from low income families, we can, right, there's the quality of life increases. And they will often talk about the median household income, the median, the median, the median. Because if they know the median, then they know that half of families or households are making less than that, half are making more than that, right? So that's kind of like the happy middle. So if they can raise the median, they're actually raising the income for everybody. Okay, next, and soon you're going to calculate this. The mode of the set of numbers is the number that occurs most often, okay, most popular. You don't need to arrange it for this one, but if you do arrange it, it's super easy to find, okay? So there's 3 instances, no mode. There's no mode if each number appears the same number of times. So watch this. You ready? I'm going to give you examples, so you better write this down. So let's say you have a set like this. Everything appears the same number of times. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. No mode. Okay? Everything appears 2 times. So there's no mode. Don't tell me this is an error right here. Sometimes I ask students, hey, give me the mode, and they say 0. 0 doesn't even show up in here, right? So this is wrong, okay? This is not right to say that. If 0 actually appeared like the most in here, then this is correct, but it's not in this case. So don't give me 0 if there's no mode, okay? One mode if one number occurs more than any other. So watch this. 2, 2, 3, 3, 7, 7, 7, 9, 11. Let's say we have that. You look at it, is this arranged? So it's super easy to find your mode, right? Mode is 7 units. Whatever it is, it could be hours, it could be dollars, it could be whatever. You just use those units for your answer. Last, you could have a number of modes if 2 or more occur the same number of times. This is the greatest number of times an entry occurs in the data set. So here, 222, you're thinking of pizza, right? The first couple twos, right away you're like, that's pizza. But let's say you have a data set like this. You arranged it, and you notice, hey, there's 3 2s and there's 3 4s, right? And everything else appears less than that. So you only have 2 winners here. So the mode is this, guys. Mode is 2 or 4 units. You just state it exactly like that. And I will see you on this stuff as early as tomorrow. It's tiring, right, to just listen, but soon we'll do math here. I'll actually ask you to jump right in. Next page. Although mode is referred to the measure of central tendency, very important here. Mode is a measure of central tendency. It is considered an MCT. It does not necessarily lie towards the center. It's very important to remember. Sometimes it isn't. The mode is used in different situations than the median or the mean. For example, right, a store owner could use the mode to find out which size of t-shirt is most popular, right? So it's still going to help you in decision making, right? And it will use that information to decide what to order in the future. Um, the mean or median in this scenario would not help make the store owner make a decision, right? You would want to use the mode in that case. There's a good old days where I used to work night shift at 7-Eleven. I don't know if I told you that. So every night my job was to take that little computer and I would scan all the sandwiches, right? And it's like there's ham and cheese, there's this like different kinds of sandwiches, and it would show me which one had been sold the most, and that one I was supposed to order the most for the next day, right? So that it kind of do like a forecast that way. So that was the mode, right? Okay, let's put this to the test. We're going to find the measures of central tendency of this data set. Let's assume that these are in hours. Assume, what did I say here? What would make sense? Assume data represents hours, no, minutes traveling to work. Traveling to work. Okay. We're going to find the measures of central tendency. Yeah. Go ahead. Since we're finding the median, what are we going to have to do with this data set? A range. I'm going to ask you to do that right now because I have my key here. I know what it looks like, a range. So what you want to do, guys, pay close attention. You pick the lowest one. Where's the lowest one? I see it right there. What you do is to not forget one. You go like this. Cross it, write it down. Or write it down, but then cross it right away. But don't leave it because then you will get confused, right? As you're grabbing numbers, cross them out. So I gave you a head start. So do the same thing with the rest, and you write it all out here. Okay, write them all out, and we will continue once you've done that. Make sure you do it. Let's walk you through this for tomorrow's AC. Okay, so just copy this if you, or check. You have to actually check if I do it right. 5, 26, 28, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 40, 43, 45, 45, 48, and 105. Is that what you got? Hopefully. Okay. So let's find the average now. I want you to find the average, right? Average. We're going to do that. The median. We're going to find the arithmetic mean. We're going to find the median. And then we're going to find the mode. And last but not least, we're going to determine if there's an outlier. Okay? See if we can figure that out. silently, so if you want to follow. I'm getting 710. 710, and how many numbers did we consider? I didn't even count them yet. So that is one more thing, guys. Make sure that when you arrange it, you count the number of values and that it matches the original, right? So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 values. Okay, which is even my add, right? So 22 values, I'm going to count here: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So you're not missing any, right? So that means that you're going to have to add them all up. I get 710. I divide it by 22. And so we have 710 divided by 22, 32.27. 32.27 minutes. What would you say it is with the bottom number represent? Days, right? It could be days, like you kept track of 22 days, but this is okay. 32.27 minutes on average is your travel time. Okay. Next, median. There's an even number of values, and here's the cheat. You ready? You take 22 values, you divide it by 2. You're going to fold it in half because remember, median finds half and half. That will give you, what does it give you? 11. In this case, 22 divided by 2 is the 11. So you will take the 11 and the 12th value, 11th and the 12th value, and you will divide it by 2. Hold it, Mr. Dirksen. What are you talking about? What kind of mumbo jumbo is this, right? Well, let me introduce highlighters here. You basically say that this is the 11th and the 12th value. You start by dividing the values in half. So it'll be the 11th and the 12th value added up divided by 2. So you count from either end: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So it's these two values that will give you the median, right? It's adding those two and then dividing it in half. And notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the right side, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 on the left side, right? So that's an indication you're doing it right. So this would be 28 plus 32. I put that in brackets to tell me that I need to add before I divide. So what is this? This is 60 divided by 2. So it's 30 minutes. And here's where you need to add another note. That's why I left this whole page blank for all the extra, right? Half of the time it takes longer than 30 minutes. That's what you just found. Half of the time it takes longer than 30 minutes. Half of the time half of the time it takes less than 30 minutes. That's what you found, right? If this had been income, it would tell you that half the time you make more, half of the time you make less, right? So there you go. That's your median. The mode, which one is your mode if you look at your data set? Is there a mode? I'm going to highlight mode like this, and I'm going to go up and find my mode. And if you look carefully, it shows up twice here, right? And there's only one right there. So the mode is Mode is 45 minutes, right? Appears most often. Note, in this case, the mode is not, follow along guys, is not a good MCT, measure of central tendency. Okay, it's not a good, since it does not lie close to the center. I'm going to ask you all this in various ACs, okay? So you better look this over a couple times. Okay? Are there any outliers? Something that's very different than the rest? Which one would you consider an outlier? Yeah, 105. It's so different, right? There's such a big jump all of a sudden between 48 and 105, right? There's a big jump here. So in this case, there's only one, okay? One outlier. One outlier. 105 minutes. We're on, what page are we on? After 111, okay? Okay, one more thing you need to do is you go up to the arranged data set. So we're going to say that that's where the median is. Do this, please. This is your mode. And where would you place your average? My average, we calculated to be 32.27. That would actually go right here. Okay. That's where your average goes. That's where your median goes. That's where your mode goes. Okay. So that you placed it, actually, you tell me exactly where it would go. And you could tell that the mean and the median are pretty good measures of central tendency. The mode is not. Okay, the mode is so far on the side that it would not be considered a good measure of central tendency. Okay, here we go. You're gonna practice what we did here with smaller data. Okay, it's not gonna be as big as this. I just wanted an example where you had to like practice arranging and all that stuff. And remember, we had even number of data set. If it's odd, it's going to be a little different for the median. So here we go. I want you to try page 112 right now. I would like you to have this all done before we go, okay? And if you're done that, I'll send you to 115 as well. Because some of you are going to work hard and want a little bit more. So this is what you're supposed to do right now. Notice that there are no units for the first couple. And notice that there are negatives. You got to watch out for the negatives as well. Okay. But you can do everything else in the meantime. And then I'll go over that tomorrow. Okay. Ask me for help if you need.